I'm Greg Nibbler. Thanks for joining us. Of course, follow 2Box Media, TWO Box Media, wherever you're at, whatever social media platform you're on, share the show. And we're continuing to talk about CES 2021. And this whole thing was virtual this year. And I'm just going to be honest, it's a strange way to go about normally where you have 180,000 plus people in person. So you have to figure out different ways to create those experiences. And there's a great company to talk to about just that. And that's what we're going to do right now. Joining us from Canon, we have Chuck Biczak, the Director of Strategic Planning. Chuck, hello. How you doing?
Hi, Greg. How are you? Thanks so much for having me.
Doing great. You know, we're both from our respective houses here, as you know, all of, or I'm assuming that's where you're at. Maybe you're not, but definitely not down in Las Vegas. That's for sure, at least as far as our virtual, the way it's working this year with CES. And talking about that, Canon did something pretty unique, creating this virtual experience in space. And I wondered if you could walk through what planning was for like that and what exactly that was that you wanted to bring to people.
Oh, yeah. Thanks so much for asking, especially about space, because space is so exciting to everybody because we get so pumped about astronauts and learning about things that are outside of our world. And for us, it was a completely different experience to take that into the virtual world, but we were pumped by it. At first, when we were planning for a physical CES, I kept saying to our agency, we have to have a satellite orbiting our booth at full speed the entire time, all of CES. And I think they thought I was joking, but I really wasn't. Like I wanted to be able to really have that experience there. I think for us, and especially for Canon thinking about space, we wanted to accomplish three things. We have a real focus on Kyosei in this entire experience, not just space. And that's our corporate philosophy that all people, regardless of race, religion, and culture, are living and working together in harmony. We wanted to tell stories that create great memories, and we wanted to expand people's perception about Canon. So when you think about space and all the ways that you can do that, of course, we highlighted the satellite program, and that's just so awesome. We have these low Earth orbit satellites that use Canon equipment right in there, and I think the experience did a nice job of showing you kind of through the viewfinder what it looks like to see Earth from space, and you can even, in that experience, you can even kind of pretend that you're operating the satellite and take photos yourselves of different locations all around the world. So we wanted to do that, but then we also wanted to bring our astronaut friends in, and because Canon, it's more than satellites, right? It's not just satellites, but
Yeah.
we of course have cameras and video cameras, and we have people who've used that before too. So we were honored to have Colonel Terry Virts and Marcia Ivins on board. And Terry world premiered his film, Cosmic Perspective. And Cosmic Perspective was also the link to Kyosei for us in that activation. So, I could talk for days about it, but we were really excited and proud of what we were able to accomplish on that.
Well, and all of that's pretty exciting too, because you're talking about these different ways that you can experience what Canon does. And there was one that I really wanted to talk about as well. And I want to make sure I get the name right. Volumetric Video System. And it's this whole idea of being able to basically capture an image on so many different levels that you can kind of customize it. And I'm probably explaining it terribly. I wonder if you could walk us through this and just talk about what that experience is like and what it was that Canon brought with that.
That technology is unbelievable, and it really changes the world. You think it's a video game, but it's not. It's real life. And in that case, we have a volumetric video studio in Kawasaki, Japan. It's one of the largest studios of its kind in the world. It's got 150 4K 60 frame per second cameras based on our Cinema EOS technology. They're all outfitted with Cinema EOS 4K compact cine servo lenses. And it's one thing to talk about the tech, right? Tech specs are so cool, but tech matters when it changes lives. And this is why we wanted to bring it back into Kyosei. And we thought about it. We thought about all these different ways to highlight the technology. And the studio, of course, has a beautiful green screen. And we just kind of kept going around in circles, thinking about what would be the best way to highlight this. And I'm also a musician, and I kind of get hung up in musician ideas. But the agency noticed that we had just signed Atiba Jefferson to be our one of our latest explorers of light, and of course he's a world-renowned skateboard photographer and overall great guy. And they came up with the idea of recreating Love Park in Kawasaki, Japan. And I'm not sure if you're a skater or people in the audience would know. And I'm fortunate. I used to live just a few blocks away from Love Park, and it really was an incredible skateboarding mecca, and the city destroyed it. And you know how a lot of people feel about skateboarders and stuff. You know, we're not really sure
Yep.
why it was destroyed, but in any case, it was. And the agency came up with the idea of kind of recreating Love Park, and you know, long live love. So you know, poor Atiba, his original plan was to actually go to Japan and be part of the shoot, and of course, because of COVID, we couldn't do that. So then, so you know, we presented the idea to him, and we said, you know, would you mind going to Japan? And of course, nobody minds going to Japan, right? So so
Right.
then we said, well, we can't do that, but we'll bring you to Philadelphia, where Love Park used to be, and we'll do a shoot there. And he was like, okay, that'll be fine, you know. And then we couldn't do that because of COVID, and we actually barely got under the wire to be able to do a shoot in his house about it. But from there, he actually remote directed the entire experience in Kawasaki, Japan. We had an 11-hour shoot, started at 6 p.m. and Eastern time. And you know, at 5 a.m. we were wrapping up, and my wife was leaving for work, and I was getting ready to go to bed. But we were able to see these, you know, over 150 cameras, and they are kind of set up, like I said, along this green screen. And there's computer software that fills in the holes in between. And you're able to see these, you know, athletes or whoever you have from any angle. We set up the classic Love Park tricks, which were a ledge, and certainly the garbage can, which even if you're not a skater, you've seen this classic photo a million times of Kayla skating over the garbage can. And we had a couple of young Japanese skaters there, and we had to have those guys because they were you know, kind of COVID ready. And but they
Right.
turned out to be great, and they knew all about Love Park from video games and magazines and everything they'd heard out about in the past. So they were super excited to be part of it, and it did turn out to be beautiful. I mean, when I saw the final experience of Love Park, it actually, I took my breath away a little bit because it reminded me so much of when I used to walk through Love Park on my way back home. So so it really is a beautiful experience, and like I said, this long live love is a way to make technology real for people and ties back into our Kiyosei philosophy.
I think that's, I mean, there's so many different things right there. A, you're bringing back to life a park that's gone, but then you've got two
Yeah.
Japanese skateboarders who had never been there, but know it through media. And then you're, you know, this remote directing of it, all making that experience come to life. And people can try it out too and take a look at it. With that, you know, it's looking at what you're able to do with this, you know, and clearly COVID had a huge influence on all of this because you couldn't do it the way you wanted to, but you created new solutions. Do you see this translating going forward and how this kind of tech could be used, you know, for whether it's a sporting experience or even like a live concert? You mentioned you're a musician. Is this the kind of thing where you
Mhm.
envision Canon being in a place to bring that to people?
Oh, absolutely. I think that, especially in this COVID world where people have to have better experiences from home, you know, I'm excited tonight about watching a hockey game, and you know, but it's going to be kind of like the same old thing, you know. But wouldn't it be great if
Yeah.
I was able to select which player I could watch at certain times, or be able to kind of flip the angle on my own? And I think that there's a real possibility for that in the future. And I also think, especially for you know, you think about the arts and you know, kind of the high arts, classical and jazz and things like that. I think they could really use this kind of thing to rejuvenate their fan bases as well.
Well, I agree completely. I think that's a great way to bring more people in, and also, you know, like you said, we're all at home, and it gives you that much more closer experience to actually being there and being a part of it. And for a lot of reasons, I think even post COVID, this is going to be huge. Looking at Canon, you know, kind of going forward here, now that we started off the year, for people out there who are, of course, fans of your products, what can they look forward to as far as maybe coming up in the next few months?
Well, of course, you know, we always have a great product pipeline coming, and you know, I'm not allowed to say anything. They'll beat me up when I get back into work, you know, if I say anything. But I think
Had to
that there's a
try.
lot of excitement. Of course, I think there's going to be a lot of excitement coming forward, and of course, you know, there's a bunch of other experiences on the website that I think people could take a look at as well. You know, there's something called AMLOS, which is short for Activate My Line of Sight, and that's a way to create a hybrid environment between teams, people in the office and people at home. And we have a very cool spy experience in there. We share some information about our innovation lab on that site as well. and there's some cool stuff about aqueous silk, and of course, for the people who are just real deep Canon fans, take a look at our Yellowstone experience. We just released the R5 and the R6 to tremendous reviews and sales. And we gave it to Chaz Glatzer, an explorer of light, and he took it out into Yellowstone in really extreme temperatures and extreme circumstances. The camera performed flawlessly, and there's a great experience on there. And like I said, for Canon fans, they're going to love it. You can spend a couple of minutes in each experience, or you could spend an hour in each experience and really learn a lot about the company and the future of our technologies.
Really cool. Chuck, I want to thank you very much for joining us too. I mean, like you said, it's taken like a storied brand like Canon. We're all apart, but still bringing everybody together to get to share an experience and see how tech can move us forward and still keep us all connected like that. And it's really, really fun to see what you've put together. And I'm excited to see what else comes down the pipeline from this as well. And, thank you very much for joining us here today. Really, really appreciate it.
Thank you, Greg. It's an honor. And, Canon's been in the top 5 in patents for the last 35 years. We have a lot more technology to share in the future.
I cannot wait to see it. Well, Chuck, thank you very much for being here on Two Box Media with us.
Thank you, Greg. It's my honor.
So how cool is that, right? Talking about how technology can bring us all together and just what Canon, story brand. I highly suggest you go there and take a look at those experiences that we're just walking through, because they're really fun to see what's possible even right now, and let alone what's going to be coming down the pipeline. So really cool stuff. And thanks everybody for watching this. I'm Greg Nibbler. This is Two Box Media. We'll be back soon with more.